My name is Chase McCormick, and I am terrible with money. Well, that's not true. I am really good at spending it. I'm a starving artist who no longer wanted to starve. I make paintings that nobody wants to look at, music that nobody wants to listen to, clothes that nobody wants to wear, and movies that nobody wants to produce. While I initially started working in finance to fund my creative endeavors, I quickly fell in love with my new role and company. I was selected to be the new social media and events coordinator at the most fun firm in finance. While I don't know much about finance, I've certainly developed an interest to start investing in my future. That's why I thought it would be exciting for me to sit down with financial experts at our company, because if they can teach it to me, they can teach it to you. So that's why scammers and drug traffickers, if they have all their money in cash, they still can't actually buy anything.
That's true.
That's how that works?
Yeah, or even a lot of business owners, right? Because they don't have a pretty clear tax picture.
Yeah.
They have a lot of income, a lot of expenses. It's really hard for them to get loans. So we have some preferred partners we work with on that, but it makes it a lot more difficult.
And how many credit cards is too many credit cards?
Nothing but trouble on my mind. That's the attitude that got my ass off the sidelines. You either ride.
Welcome back to Chasing Finance. I'm here today with the legendary Matt Iantosca. Who is Matt? Well, pretty big deal around the company, I'll say that. LMU legend, husband, father of two, former pro gamer, sad Knicks fan. It's true. The Tigers are number one in the MLB right now. Talk about that later. Founding member of GK. Managing partner. Won countless awards from Forbes, Advisor Hub, and many others. But most importantly, back to back to back, probably 10 years in a row, top earner at the company. Here to help us figure out what new credit card I should get. Welcome to the show, Matt.
Thank you, man. Good to be here.
Great to have you. I know Alex is pumped. Big deal for us. You know, we started getting managing partners. Did I ever believe that we'd have a top earner on the show? No, I genuinely didn't. But here he is with us today. So we are very excited.
It's pretty impressive. It took us months to get this show even accepted by Ross.
I know.
And the fact that you actually have had multiple managing partners is pretty impressive.
Pretty big deal.
Yeah.
And it has to do with your credit card.
And it has to do with my credit card. And that's exactly what I explain to people in the show. I say, people with that manage hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars come on this show to explain the most basic financial concepts possible. And, well, we have a lot of fun, don't we? Welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. I'm excited to do it.
How are we liking the new office? What do you think of the new studio?
I think this is awesome. This is my first time in here today. So that's exciting.
Do you think you would have been on the show in the old studio, or has this kind of upgrade allowed us to upgrade the quality of our guests?
Definitely an upgrade.
Yeah.
Yep.
Big deal. And he's been around. He's been around longer than me, around longer than Alex. I heard there was actually an office before the office.
There was. Yeah, I actually started in the Woodland Hills office, which was even before the national office.
Don't say the Valley?
The Valley.
Oh, yeah. What?
I would commute from Calabasas to West LA.
Damn.
Not great, but we survived.
I heard that one wasn't really, considered the same tier as GK Santa Monica.
No.
Didn't last very long.
Different world.
Yeah. Those Valley boys, Well, how do you feel like GK's kind of changed already in this new office?
I think it's just upped the expectations for everyone here. We, especially after COVID, there weren't a lot of people coming into the office, but this just gave that extra motivation to get people in again, see people in person. It's just a lot more lively. So I'm excited that we're here.
The vibes on Main Street are great.
Yep.
We had a pretty phenomenal lunch today.
We did.
I wanted to go inside. Matt's like, nah, let's sit outside. The vibes are too inspiring out here.
We did. Yeah. Beautiful weather too.
The sunshine is hitting my face in a way. And, I'm not going to talk about my rosy cheeks. That's for later. But it's not a sunburn. I'm just going to say that. It could be. Maybe I should say it is, but whatever.
Matt, if you had a beard, what's the most you would spend on a beard?
You want to bring it up?
A beard
we'll bring it
trim?
up.
I mean, you're a well-off guy, much more well-off than Chase, what would you spend on
a beard trim?
On a beard trim.
I actually told Chase I've only done it once, and it wasn't the best experience, but I think it was still cheaper than what Chase spent today. So maybe $50.
I know it's not the worst beard trim in the world.
I mean, you
look $70.
You look good, but $70.
I almost didn't tip the guy too. Guy was charming as hell. It was $60. I still tipped him $9. 15%.
Where did you go?
Like right across the street, to the right a little bit.
$70 that's a lot for a haircut. For like
that's what I'm saying, dude. I had this whole talk with Nico, with Steve. They're all, even Robert was getting in. An expert opinion was like, you shouldn't spend more than $50. I'm like, well, I spend usually about $100 on my haircut. And like,
oh my goodness,
different levels of hair, like my hair care, like it takes a full hour. And this beard trim, honestly, it took the guy 40 minutes, which was crazy.
And that was no haircut, just a beard.
I know.
And he's also spending quite a bit of money on like dry cleaning. A lot of these things that are,
True.
I see to be like luxuries that maybe you could save money not doing. And Chase is just jumping into them. Which kind of goes into like where we started this whole thing. We had like a whole episode about dry cleaning.
I know, but you have to realize like my appearance is all I've got going for me. You know what I mean? Like Alex lived in my old apartment and he didn't use the washer dryer. So him to say that I should be using it for my nice work shirt.
I did use the washer and dryer. I just bought another washer to put in our second bathroom.
Oh, wow.
So you'd used it or you didn't use it?
I'm not against the washer dryer dry cleaning talk.
Thank you.
I think your clothes got to look good.
I'm a classy guy. I think, like I'm a representation of this company. And if I was walking in here with wrinkled shirts, how would that make you as one of our executives feel?
Wouldn't be great, but the representation of our company, that might be a little far.
You got to tell yourself certain things. I got to build myself up,
Yeah.
So we do have a lot to talk about. And yeah, I will go back to say, like, don't drop a comment about my rosy cheeks. Like, I know, like they shave my face, they scrub this shit on. And then next thing I know, for the next 2 hours, my cheeks are fucking red. And yeah, I am self-conscious about it. Yeah. If you see me going like, oh, you know what? It's because it burns a little bit. That actually feels really good. I'm doing it on both sides. But don't comment, please. Comment something to Alex. Tell him that, I don't know, he should have let me wear the t-shirt I wanted to wear today. I put on the shirt, I take off the shirt. Maybe, I don't know, $100 for a haircut's okay. Maybe you could just compliment my hair. I don't know, but I'm trying to boost engagement. So at least say something, just not about my cheeks. And maybe say, welcome, Matt, too. Maybe say, hey, do you want to be my financial advisor? I only have $20, but you seem great. I don't know.
You look great. It was worth it.
Thank you. You look good too.
Thank you.
I will say, yeah. I feel a little underdressed, honestly.
Nah, you look good.
Matt, has Chase told you kind of like where he started with this whole thing? Like basically we've tracked everything by net worth. So like what his net worth was when he started versus now?
I don't know where it's at now. I'm excited to hear though.
So where was it when it started?
Okay. So episode 1, we calculated my net worth $56. So
and we went through like credit cards. We went through 401k. We went through everything.
Yeah.
Yep. Last time we really sat down and tracked it. Hold your deep breath. $25K net worth.
That's awesome.
And that's
from
great,
$56?
right?
That's incredible.
From $56, and that's just because of your doing, because of Mia's doing, Ross, Danilo, like Alex, my second financial advisor. Like, this company's given me a lot. And I'll be honest, I haven't recalculated it since, because maybe it's gone down a little bit. Maybe it's closer to 20, maybe 23. I've, upped my credit card and haven't been contributing to my Roth as much. Did I buy the dip? Absolutely. $1,000 in the 401k. Bam. Or actually, it was my Roth. Bam. So we'll just say this. We've been making a lot of progress.
I mean, $56 to 25,000. That's a lot of progress.
What's the percentage on that?
Too big.
50 goes into 1,000. What? 20 or 200 times?
20.
20?
Yep.
So then you times that
by 25.
By 25, which would be
so that's a lot
500 times, 5,000 times.
Yeah, and how long? How many years?
Less than a year, I think.
Oh, that's amazing.
Less than 2.
Yep. And that's the beauty of what we're doing is that's a start, right?
Mhm.
And then it starts compounding from there.
Compounding interest.
Yep. So 25 to 50.
I told you
50
he
to
was
100.
good. Yeah.
Yep.
How long do you think it'll be till I hit 100K?
I mean, maybe 2 years
Okay.
at most.
Okay.
If you keep saving and stop charging $70.
Help me get a
gear
raise,
trims,
maybe?
We can do that.
Let's
We get a little raise. Yeah. You're not far off.
I know. And it's not that hard to learn how to shave your face, too.
No.
Like, just like,
I think Alex could do it next time.
Yeah, I do mine.
Alex, how much you want? $20? You do it for me?
I don't really want to do yours, but I could. Some guy in college taught me how to do mine, and so I could tell you what I do.
Here's the thing is, my dad can't really grow facial hair the same way I can. So
he couldn't teach you.
maybe it'd be good for you to teach me. Okay, well, Matt, welcome to the show. Yes, we are talking about credit cards, but really we are partially here to talk about finding love in the workspace.
Oh, boy.
And I think the one question, like the whole reason we really wanted to have this, and we're all just genuinely curious as an office, how did you really score the great Francine Lai?
This is not the direction we were supposed to go. I think I got lucky. I just started working here, was new in the business. She started maybe 6 months after me.
Mm-hmm.
And, we became friends. We were both grinding away, trying to build up our business to a good point. And
loving the spreadsheets.
Yeah, loving the spreadsheets. I had my Zach, one of my closest buddies, one of our other partners was on one side, and then Francine was on the other. And
Okay.
we all became very close and just went from there.
I mean, when Zach's your competition, it's pretty easy to, look to the other side and, maybe do a little flirting. I don't know.
Yeah.
Chase often thinks that these episodes have a different purpose than they actually have.
Yeah.
I could tell.
All good dialogue has good subtext. So I want all my screenwriters out there to remember.
It was very frowned upon by the rest of the team. So we're lucky it worked out in our favor.
That's good.
Yeah.
I should maybe explain that would be good. Matt is also married to another partner at our company, the great Francine Lai. And so pretty inspiring to me, honestly, because if I, could have a successful, kind corporate woman, then that would be, I think, a big score,
For sure. Yeah, it's our business is not easy. You go through a lot of challenging times. So to be able to go through it together has definitely helped us a lot.
It's beautiful. And you have 2 lovely children.
I do. Two human children and 1 furry child.
It's beautiful. Tobes, right?
Tobes. That's right.
Maybe we'll bleep the names out. Whatever. But there's also part of the reason we have to talk about this is because there's a lot of love going around the workplace. You got Kyle and Miranda getting married.
Not to
you
each
got
other,
Sage getting engaged. There's a lot of ring. I was typing up the newsletter, 2 hours ago, and I'm like, wow, 2 marriages, another proposal, and then you've just got the sparks flying between Matt and Fran every second of every hour. You're like, wow, it's a beautiful, beautiful place full of love, which is a great.
Where are we going with this?
I don't know. But I am curious. So you've got 2 financial advisors, 2 partners that are also partners at a financial firm. Usually in a relationship, you have 1 saver, 1 spender. But for you guys, how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a lot of the reason we're so compatible is we're probably both savers. We like to do fun things. We like to spend money on experiences, but we definitely are savers at heart, and we'll save first every single time. And then we have our discretionary money that we know we can spend without feeling bad because we took care of the right stuff.
Because that makes sense. I honestly should have looked up the statistic, but money is like one of the biggest things that affects relationships.
Yep.
And the communication aspect of it is really the issue. So I'd imagine, your jobs are basically to communicate about money for a living. So
Yep. Yeah. I mean, a lot of couples come in and they're engaged or they're planning a wedding, but they've never sat down and actually talked about their finances.
Yeah.
And that's a big mistake. So we tend to be the person that initiates that conversation, which is almost like seeing a psychologist.
Yeah.
You try to do it with a fine line without causing problems, but you also know it's for their best interest. So it's important.
But like at the end of the day, who really handles the finances in
Iantosca? Yeah, I'm a little.
You got that, Alex?
She'll agree. I am a very on the ball for every little penny, knowing where it goes.
Really?
Yes.
I never would have guessed that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I do the same thing for Hannah and I. Not that she's a financial advisor, nor am I, but being from in this world every day, I kind of become very financially savvy. And Hannah doesn't even know how much her paycheck is because that's how much I just manage everything.
Yeah. I mean, we communicate. If there's small purchases, we have our own bank accounts. We do that. No problem. But any sort of big decision, even if I know I'm going to do it, I'll just say, hey, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm going to do. And she's like, okay. So communication is definitely key.
I've seen Francine walking around in some pretty fancy designer clothing. She's got good style. I'll say that.
She's got good style, but she always likes getting a good deal.
That's true. That's
a good partnership.
That's what you want in a partner right there. Yeah. I wonder if I'll ever be the financial person.
You probably will.
Managing the money, I know.
Got to find that somebody
Yeah,
first.
we'll grow it up. Yeah. Damn. Yeah, maybe one day I'll have what it takes to really learn how to save money, but it takes time, right?
You're doing great so far.
And then once you do meet someone, one thing that I really enjoyed was adding Hannah to all of my credit cards.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll find someone who wants to add me to their credit card. That could be fun.
Well, either way, you start to have shared credit cards, which is what this episode's supposed to be about.
Okay. Wait, I have some credit card stuff, but we'll get to that. I do actually want to talk about, you live in a multi-language household. I find that very interesting.
That's right.
How did that come about? What is that like?
Yeah, so Francine grew up speaking Mandarin, Taiwanese in her household, and that was always something important to her. I think all of us probably took some sort of language during school, but never really stuck to it.
Yeah.
So I did understand that I wish I could. So then when we had our kids, I kind of fought this initially, but Francine got us a Mandarin-only speaking nanny.
I met her.
You did? Yes,
yeah.
You did. So our kids have been speaking Mandarin probably before they spoke English. And was tough at first because I couldn't communicate with her.
Yeah.
But we figured out ways to talk, and now the kids are more than fluent in Mandarin.
That's so cool.
Which is awesome.
How much did you understand?
Nothing at first.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Because you seemed like you could tell when I was over at your house once.
I can now.
Okay.
You have to learn, otherwise they just talk about you.
I was going to say, you're already the only man in the house. You've got a wife, 2 daughters, and then a female.
Yeah. One of my daughters really loves me, so she's the translator. She'll let me know if anything's going on.
Yeah.
The older
I
one.
could have guessed that one.
Yep.
And are you a little bit worried, though, as they get older, maybe that they're going to use it to kind of sass and manipulate you a little bit, or?
No, not at all. We're doing everything we can to help them keep it, because I know from school and talking to everybody in English the rest of the time, it gets hard to keep. So I want them to have it. I think it'll be a really positive in business down the road at some point. So it would be great.
China, people always say big economy and, tariffs, and there's stuff about that people say, and
there is. Yeah, people say
things about China.
You've done 2 podcasts now just on tariffs.
Global economy. And that's the thing. IL said last episode, I was like, look, do you have a favorite tariff? And he was like, no. But I'm like, okay, but are some tariffs maybe better, more warranted? And then he said, you know what? China's taking a little bit too much advantage of us.
Yeah.
China's maybe dipping and dabbling a little bit too much, that maybe we should tariff them up a little bit.
I don't disagree. I think there's a balance in anything. We export a good amount, but they export everything.
Yeah.
And our companies have to remain competitive. So some level of tariff or access fee or something to even the playing fields is probably not a terrible idea. So it's all about how you do it.
Yeah. Have you been to China, by the way?
I haven't been to China. We have a trip to Taiwan planned later this year.
No way.
That'll be the first time.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
When?
Probably November over Thanksgiving.
Okay, cool. Well, if you need a nanny, I don't speak Mandarin, but
you could
be a bodyguard.
A Sherpa?
Sherpa, bodyguard. I'm even a shaman, so
Perfect.
That could be good if you guys want a vision quest.
We'll think about that.
All right, cool. Well, he hasn't been to China, but he is a travel expert. Let me say some of the places you've been. I wrote some of these down. Will you give us one word for each place?
Okay.
Africa.
Incredible.
And did you see any big snakes?
We saw one snake, but not a big one.
Okay.
We saw everything else.
Cobra?
I don't think it was a cobra.
Do they have buffaloes there?
They do. Water buffalo. They're huge.
Really?
Yep.
Ooh, and Jeff Rosick just went to Africa.
He did. He said it was awesome.
Yeah, safari and all.
Yep. That's the trip. Everyone has to do it.
I'm trying to.
Yeah.
Because I was African American minor at LMU, and what was the word that they always use to describe Africa? It was not the homeland, but the continent.
Mm-hmm.
It was always referred to as the continent. And I always thought that was interesting because although, no, technically I'm not of African descent, if you couldn't tell already, but all of human evolution began in Africa. So even if technically you may not be of African descent, in a way, we all are, right? The originals, we all come from the continent. So
yeah, that's the place. I honestly think everyone has to visit that continent at some point.
Yeah. Where did you go?
We went twice, actually. So
Cool.
we did Tanzania and then Zanzibar.
Nice.
And then we did South Africa and Mozambique the second time.
Ooh, cool.
So you get some of the safari life, and then you get
Yeah.
the beach.
Okay. Africa, you've been to India. What's that like?
Also, just a different world. So we did some of the city. We did Delhi, which is just the population is just out of control. There's so many people. And then we also did some wildlife stuff there too. We saw some tigers, which was pretty cool.
White tigers?
Not white.
Okay.
Yeah, just the normal
Regular,
tigers. But it's like you go to the woods here, you see some deer, you see some rabbits. Over there, you see tigers.
That's so fun.
So, yeah, a lot of our travel revolves around animals and wildlife.
Yeah, well, you guys are big animal lovers. And that's a question I wrote down for later, but I'll just say it now. Is don't you feel like we should have the ability to talk to animals at this point?
Yes. My
How
dog
has it
every
not
day.
been figured out?
I don't know.
I know. It's like, I mean, you're a smart guy, right? Have you talked to anybody about the smart people talking about this?
Not that I know of. I know that they're, especially with dogs, they're trying
You've seen Up, right?
I've seen Up.
I
Great
mean,
movie. Yeah. Yeah.
squirrel. Like,
Maybe that's your life mission.
yeah, it could be because I don't really know science so good, but you know what I think my life mission would be is if I get to do the voiceover for the dogs. Like if I could be the voice. You did mention you've been to the Maldives. I actually don't know where that is. So.
South of India.
South of India.
Yep.
Okay.
Another beautiful place.
I know. And Slumdog Millionaire is one of the most underrated movies of all time. I'm just going to say it.
I don't think it's underrated, isn't it? Like, didn't it win
I think
a
it was
bunch
big
of
movies.
Yeah,
I know, but I just
feel
feel like a lot of people don't talk about it anymore.
well, it was like 20 years ago.
Well, yeah. And also the song Paper Planes by MIA came from that. I mean, maybe mention that. Life of Pi also. All right. Well, we moved around growing up. We can just skip that. New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Texas, and England.
Yep.
It's interesting to know, do you feel like that moving around growing up has kind of contributed to your love of travel in a way?
100%. Yeah, I think, even back in the day, my brother and I would travel just by ourselves for long distances and just getting comfortable with that and meeting people. I think not only did it contribute to my love for travel, I think just being comfortable in uncomfortable places, and being able to figure out your way around. So as much as it was difficult at the time moving, I think now in retrospect, it definitely added a lot of value to my life.
And just meeting new people and creating new relationships, I'm sure.
Yep.
Pretty much barely moved around as a kid.
Yeah.
All right. Can I put the t-shirt on now? Because it's time to talk about the Cayman Islands.
No.
You sure?
It's time to talk about the Cayman
I think
Islands.
that's why he turned the AC on.
I know, literally.
I was just so hot over here.
Yeah.
Okay. You're sure?
What questions do you have that pertain
Okay,
to...
we're getting to that. So the next thing's going to be credit score, but we got to intro.
Go for it. You just introed credit score for 30 minutes.
Okay. So tell me about the Cayman Islands.
I booked it on my credit card.
Let's go. See, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I can earn some points.
Yeah,
no, I know. Okay.
Snorkeling?
Snorkeling,
Points or no?
No points.
Stingrays? Points or?
We not this time. I've been before and we did the stingrays.
Okay.
The little kids, I thought it might have been too much, but
It's true.
that's, the beautiful thing about what we do is you find ways to take amazing trips and do it as efficiently as you can.
Yeah.
A lot of it is pre-planning and saving ahead of time. Others is utilizing credit card points that maybe you earned throughout the year just from normal spending. So a lot of ways to do it.
All right, we'll get into credit cards. Fine. I'll skip the Arnold Schwarzenegger. Although we did see him outside the office, allegedly.
We did. He wouldn't come in and join the podcast, though.
All right. Well, we'll work our way there.
Yeah.
So what is a credit score and why is that important?
So a credit score, almost on an artificial basis, has kind of been created to judge how great of a person you are for someone to lend you money. So almost anything you do, especially applying for a mortgage, car loan, any sort of debt that you utilize, there's a score applied to you that will say how much credit they'll extend to you, if at all.
Okay.
And then obviously there's a rating. The higher your rating, the better the rate you will get, the more flexibility you'll have. So it's incredibly important to be smart with how you spend your money, especially if you do it on debt.
Okay. And what's what rating will you start out at? How does that even?
Yeah, so the top rating is about at 850, I believe.
850, okay.
Then there's a couple different credit agencies, and they'll all give you slightly different ratings. But especially for big loans like mortgages, there's usually ranges. It's like 780 plus, maybe is excellent, or depending on the bank and things.
780 plus, I'm not that far off.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's important, even if you don't want to have debt, which most people do not, but to have some sort of credit history over time.
Yeah.
So one of the lucky things that my parents did for me is they added me as an authorized user on their credit cards when I was younger. So it's not the same as having your own card, but it does build some length of credit history for yourself.
Okay.
So smart to do if you have kids.
Because I was going to say, so building credit is basically it goes up instead of down.
Yep.
What are the things that make it go up? So you said time is a big thing.
Time is a big one. Utilization of the credit available to you. So if you have...
So how much you spend?
Correct. If you have $2,000 of a credit balance available and you're maxing that out and not paying it off, that's a big negative. But if you have $2,000, you use it, you pay it off, you stay on time, that's good.
That's good.
Yeah, that's a good score. Shows that you're responsible.
I think my limit's 5,000. And I try to keep it around 1,000. This month I'm at about 2,500.
Okay.
And it's been a fun month.
And the plan is to pay that off this month?
Plan is to pay it off. I haven't missed one yet. And so we'll see. But I'm back contributing to my Roth and stuff. So
perfect. Yeah, it's a two-way street, right? You want to build your credit, but at the same time, you want to build up some assets. So you got to do both.
Got to do both. And so what are credit card points?
So credit card points, which I feel like has gotten a lot bigger these days. The millennials and younger generations have definitely learned how to take advantage of the system.
Yeah.
So most credit card companies, when you charge stuff onto your card, you earn reward points.
Okay.
And there's many different types of reward credit cards you can get. A lot of them revolve around travel, which is what I like to utilize.
That's why we're here.
Yep.
Okay, I remember this now.
Yep. Some people just like the straight cash back because they don't want to think about transferring points and that whole fun world.
Yeah,
which is
I had to do that actually when I thought I was going into debt because when I had to purchase bleep 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 at bleep bleep bleep, but then I had to use my credit card points to erase that and also my gym membership, gym reimbursement. Thank you, by the way. And so then I could afford it. I could also pay my credit card because of it.
Yep. So there's a lot of advantages to using it in the right way. The key is stay on schedule, pay at least the minimum, ideally pay it off every single month, but you accrue these points over time that can be used for fun things like taking trips.
So if you pay the minimum, can it go down, or is paying the minimum mean that it'll either stay the same or go up?
Paying the minimum will usually maintain the balance. It depends on the card you have. Some have really high interest, but usually if you pay the minimum, it's not going to continue to accrue more interest.
Okay.
So that's kind of the bare minimum. But my recommendation and what I've always done is just use it each month for your normal living expenses that you can.
Yeah.
Pay it off. Right, because then you're not living above your means.
That's what my financial advisor told me.
That's good.
And
you have a good advisor.
The best. The best.
Second best.
So, what was I going to ask? Oh, yeah. So did I do it wrong, though? Because if I transfer the points into cash to help pay off my debt, yes, that's good because I'm paying it off. But do the points have more worth if they're transferred somewhere else?
They do. Yeah. And that can take a lot of work. I've really figured out for a long term, again, just from traveling as a kid, and my dad traveled for work. So my mom kind of figured out how to do this with the airplane miles and all that stuff. So I had a head start.
Okay.
If you don't want to invest the time, the cash back is fine. But there's a lot of instances where you can book, let's say I get these emails all the time, business class to Japan for 50,000 miles. That could be a $3,000 plane ticket, right?
Yeah.
So that's a 6 times return on your miles versus if you should reduce it for cash. That might be 1-to-1.
Okay.
So a lot of ways to leverage your points for better things.
Sure.
But you got to put in the effort, or at least know someone who can.
And what's a transfer partner?
Yeah, transfer partner is usually like an airline or maybe a hotel.
Okay.
So you earn those points on your credit card company, Capital One, Chase, whoever it may be. But they have relationships with a lot of other companies that you can transfer directly to them. So your Chase points can now become United Airlines points, for example, and then you can book your flight. So I know you have some big upcoming trips this summer. That's some things maybe we can look at together.
We got to talk about that.
Yeah, we can look at it.
Got a lot to book, so it's going to be a big moment for me. But another thing I'm wondering though is like, how do credit card companies actually make money? Because if they're giving me points, they're giving me money, and then they're sending it off to transfer partners. Is that how they make their money, or
they get something from that, and they have a lot of relationships with the travel companies. The biggest ways is obviously through the high interest that they charge. Not everybody's as responsible as you and pays off their credit card every single month. A lot of people.
Shout out to my advisor. I'll just say that, Mia Sampson.
Yep, a lot.
It's so sad because then the people who are like knowledgeable and have the money to pay it off are just getting extra bonuses off the people who don't responsibly use them.
100%.
That's not sad. That's great.
It's so sad.
Yeah, it's I guess it's a double-edged sword. I wouldn't say it's a great system that we have, but it's just the way that credit works in this world today. So that's why we try to educate people, and you try to recommend that they pay off their credit card if they hopefully can. Use it as kind of a safety net or a backstop if you don't have the cash on hand. I get that. Yeah. But if you have the money, it's not something that you should be carrying over time. So
you said they make money off interest for people that don't pay. So wait, explain to me a little bit more how that works.
Yeah. So let's say you put your $2,500 on your credit card. You decide not to make a payment that month. Many of these credit card companies will charge interest potentially up to 20% a year. So, if you don't pay off,
that could be $500.
Could be over time. It adds up. Oh. And then that compounds, right? We talked about compounding in a positive way. It can also be a negative way.
No.
So
there's negative compound interest?
Yeah. Can go against you.
No.
Yeah. Mind blown. So it's incredibly important to not let your credit cards get out of hand.
Okay. Yeah. That could be because I'm always seeing that on Dave Ramsey, especially,
Yeah. There are
pay off your credit card.
Yeah. I would say he's probably the far extreme on the other end. I think there are some good ways to use debt, especially if we're in a low interest rate environment, which we're not necessarily today. But a lot of us have mortgages that are in the 2 to 3% range.
Yeah.
That's good debt.
That's good debt.
Right?
I was going to ask you because obviously you work with a lot of high net worth individuals. So I assume that credit cards could be different for them, or people have said the words good debt before.
Yep.
And my friends aren't really saying that, but some people at this company have said the words good debt. So what could that be?
Yeah. I mean, the mortgages from years ago is a perfect example of that. Mortgage rates and interest rates in general were low. So you could get a mortgage at 2.25%, for example, right? And these days you can buy a money market fund, which is just generating interest, or even a savings account paying 4%.
Yeah.
Right? So why would I pay off my 2.25% mortgage? So it's all about the interest rate and the environment that you get it in. It's also a house, right?
So
that's
2%,
an asset.
3%. What does that exactly mean to me?
Yeah. So, let's say you spend $2,500. Maybe a credit card is not a perfect example for this.
Let's say I buy a home for $1 million.
$1 million. Okay. So to keep it simple, let's just say you get $1 million loan, and I'm just going to do an example of an interest-only loan.
Sure.
Which most people don't have, but it's simple math.
Simple math.
So
I like that.
If you have a 2.5% interest-only loan on $1 million loan, so it's $1 million times 2.5%.
Yeah.
Your mortgage payment's going to be $25,000 a year.
Yeah.
Or a little over $2,000 a month.
Okay.
Let's say today interest rates.
That's really good, by the way.
That is good.
It's really good. Yeah.
Today, in this environment, maybe you get a 6% mortgage.
Oh,
right? So that same $1 million loan at 6% is now $60,000 a year or $5,000 a month instead of $2,000.
That's more than I make. Seriously.
We're working on that.
I know, we're working on it, but that's crazy.
Yeah. So that's why this environment's been so challenging for especially young people to buy homes, because interest rates are higher. So the cost to get a mortgage is just very difficult.
Okay.
It's crazy how what seemingly a few percent difference makes it twice as expensive to pay off that house.
Yeah, more than twice. And obviously, the bigger the loan, the bigger the impact.
Right.
We live in Los Angeles, where every house is almost $1 million.
I was gonna say, yeah.
So it's tough.
It's crazy.
So how can you use credit cards to your advantage, right? Building the credit,
Yep.
It's basically just using it as frequently as possible, as long as it's within your means, and then that can help you get a loan.
I think so. Yeah, I think the first step is just make sure you feel financially responsible enough to understand what you're doing. So if you get a credit card, it's not to just splurge and hit the limit and not pay it off.
Yeah.
But as long as you wrap your head around that, everyone has monthly expenses. We eat out, we do fun stuff. Why not put it on your card and get those points? It doesn't cost you anything different. You just pay it off from your credit card.
Okay. And is there a way to build credit not by a credit card?
Any sort of debt. Unfortunately, if you have no credit history and make millions of dollars, your credit score is still not good because you haven't built up that history over time.
Interesting.
So it's based on the credit utilization, whether it's a mortgage, a car loan, a credit card, any sort of debt will help build up your credit history over time.
So that's why scammers and drug traffickers, if they have all their money in cash, they still can't actually buy anything.
That's true.
That's how that works?
Yeah. Or even a lot of business owners, right? Because they don't have a pretty clear tax picture.
Yeah.
They have a lot of income, a lot of expenses. It's really hard for them to get loans. So we have some preferred partners we work with on that, but it makes it a lot more difficult.
And how many credit cards is too many credit cards, by the way? Because I'm going for number 2 here, and that's what we're going to start to get into, is like getting me a new credit card.
Yep.
But should I get 2 more? Should I get 3 more? What's kind of the vibe there?
Yeah, I mean, my thinking is I have 3.
Okay.
I use them for different purposes. One's real good for airplanes, one's real good for travel restaurants, and one's just like a generic one.
Okay.
For me, that's enough. There are some real big kind of credit card people that will use those sign-up bonuses all the time to use for travel, and they'll apply constantly. If you want to deal with that, that could be great.
Okay.
But I think for a lot of people, that's probably overkill, and it just creates more complexity than you need. But I think two's fine.
2's fine. I mean, if you only have 3, I'm not going to,
Yeah. I mean, it also depends on if you're new to this world, they might only give you a balance of $1,000. They may not be good enough. So maybe you need a couple.
Okay.
But I think as you build your history over time.
My starter credit card was $5,000.
Yeah. So that's pretty good.
I don't use that.
That's
but
pretty
also like Matt was saying, part of your credit score has to do with how much credit you have available. And so if you request more of a credit limit on your current card, they might only give you another $1,000. But if you open a new card, they might give you another $5,000. So now you've doubled your credit.
That's right. Yeah. So it's, again, I don't necessarily like that side of the business where they're kind of incentivizing you to have more credit.
Yeah.
Which, as we know, they kind of want that because if you don't pay it off, it's more money for them. But that's just how the system's set up right now.
Okay. So if I wanted to jump my credit score, because I've had it for probably about 15 months. I've had a credit card. My score is at about 760.
Okay.
But I'm only using 1,000 to 2,000 of my 5,000. So and I'm wondering, I'm okay, I've paid it off every month in full, and I've done some things to pay it off. You know what I mean? I've been on the Venice Pier selling bleach t-shirts. I've been Venmo requesting people. Sometimes you got to get that money back. And I've done what I had to do to pay off that. But if I use the full 5,000 or let's say 4,000, would that actually shoot me up to more closer to that 800 number?
It could. Even carrying a small balance, as long as you're making the minimum payments, can sometimes help. It's a ratio, right? If you have a $5,000 balance and you're staying at 4 to 5, that's not good because you're overutilized. But if you have 1,000 used on the 5, that could help you over time.
Because that's the other thing is, even though I've paid it off in full, I've also seen it go down before.
Yep. Yeah, which that bothers me too, because I don't like carrying any credit
I'm
card.
competitive.
Yep.
I'm I did what you said, and then I didn't get the result.
Yeah. No, I feel like, I don't know how it would happen, but I feel like this industry needs to be disrupted pretty badly. There's been some companies that have tried, but it's just, it's not easy. I paid off my credit card forever, never missed a payment. Why don't I have a perfect score? right?
When am I going to get to 850?
Maybe never.
What's
it's
it
hard.
going to take?
Yeah, maybe never.
What do you know about the built card, if anything?
That's also a very good card.
I wrote something about that.
Yeah, that's a popular card, mainly because they let you charge your rent.
Right.
You earn some great points for that, and I think they might have the best transfer partners for travel too.
Okay.
So that's a really popular one.
Why are they able to now allow you to use it for rent and I can't use my American Airlines card for rent?
Yeah, I don't know how they figured it out. Yeah, because
that's the most obvious thing. Like that's where I spend, so much
without
money.
a fee, right? And there's no 3% fee.
Right.
It's just, they've found some workaround around it. So I don't know.
All right.
Yeah.
Maybe you should get the built card.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk about because here's an ethical debate for you guys. My roommate has the built card and he pays our rent and I just Venmo him our rent and he's racking in almost $40,000 worth of points a year. And so when our rent went up, we're rent controlled. So our rent only went up $40 this year. And I initially got him to agree that he's got so many points that I shouldn't have to pay more and he should take on $80 worth because he's got almost $40,000 worth in credit card points. And then after a couple months, he said, actually, we never agreed to that. And now you owe me for the rest of those months. So I'm wondering, ethically speaking, what do you guys think about that?
That's tough.
I mean, he's has a great deal because
for $40,
a very good deal
for $40 a month.
Yeah, I think I would eat it if I were him, but not everyone thinks the same.
Yeah,
I think you should get the build card and say, actually, I want to pay rent now.
Yeah, there you go.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, or split it every 6 months. You guys take turns.
That could be good.
We don't want to create any drama with the roommate.
Also, how does he use a build card? Because you live in my old apartment, and that was not that long ago. I lived there, and I had to write a check every month. Did they upgrade the system?
I think the build credit card in some ways might send a check.
Oh,
I don't know exactly.
Yeah, I think it does actually.
Yeah.
God, he knows everything.
That's so cool.
It is cool.
Yeah, I think we got to get a build card. Hannah should get that, and we can use that to pay rent.
Yeah, they have good point stuff.
So, okay, is it common for a financial advisor to help their clients get a credit card that kind of matches their goals, or is what we're doing today pretty unique?
I wouldn't say it's common. I think it just depends how involved in a client's kind of daily life you get. Budgeting is incredibly important for everything we do.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times that'll come up, and then I'll have clients that like to travel a lot. So then I'll kind of say, hey, have you thought of this or that to provide some extra value?
Suggest things. More,
yeah. And you only do it for the right person, right? If they're very good with their spending and their credit, then maybe you suggest it.
Yeah.
If they're spenders and they don't always pay things off, then I probably wouldn't touch recommending a credit card for them.
Yeah.
But it's real money. I mean, if you spend, $40,000 a year, that's at least 40,000 points, maybe more.
I know.
I mean, that could be worth $1,000. So,
yeah. You hear that, Arlen? And okay, I should have probably put this question earlier, but is there a thing that if I pay my credit card early that helps me get more points, or it takes away from my points? Because I've actually heard both of those.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't earn you any more points.
Okay.
I think sometimes if you pay it off too quickly, it actually hurts your credit.
That's what I heard. It makes you look like you don't think you have the money.
Right.
But then other people are like, no, you're flexing. You got the money.
Yeah, it definitely does not help your credit score if you just pay it off. If you charge tomorrow and it clears and then you pay it off the next day.
Yeah.
I think that's actually a negative in the credit card.
That's interesting. That's kind of what I do.
Yeah.
I pay it off every week, whatever I've spent.
Yeah, sometimes I do it too much and then I'll kind of wait. You have mostly 30 days for most credit card companies to pay it off. So you can let it sit there for a couple of weeks.
We did an episode, I think one of maybe the fourth episode, where we had him pull up his credit card statement and he had to read it off, every single thing he bought for the whole month. Still one of my favorite moments of this whole podcast.
Yeah, that was a good episode, but also a little bit traumatic.
A little embarrassing.
Liquor store, $16. August 27th, liquor store, $28. Liquor store, $25. And this is I get snacks too.
You know what? I buy my groceries at the liquor store, okay? Now you know. Okay, I go to Trader Joe's now just in case Alex wants to pull up my credit card statement again. I'm gonna have some grocery charges that month. But okay, let's get into the real reason we're here, though. I need a new credit card. I've got the Kitty card, Quicksilver or Capital One Quicksilver, I think it's called. I have it in my pocket. They wanted me bad, right? My own home bank.
Don't show it because then I have to blur it out. That's a lot of work.
Don't show your number.
Yeah, Capital One Quicksilver. And you know what hurt me was that my own home bank, Chase, of the Chasing Finance podcast, wouldn't give me a credit card a year ago. But now, 15 months later, I've been making my payments. I've got my own salary. And it's not 6 figures, but it's 5. Nearing on 6. You know, we're getting there. We're swimming. And here's the thing. I've got a lot of flights coming up because now I got to be a groomsman in a wedding and then be a groomsman in another wedding and then go to a bachelor party. And then I want to go visit my brother in Manhattan and I want to go see my family in Florida. And you know what? If I earn enough points, I'd like to go to the Cayman Islands too. But now I'm wondering, am I actually getting the best, most efficient plan for me? Is there something out there that maybe I could utilize these points or whatever they're called to my advantage and leverage my good credit to get some cash back?
Yeah, I mean, there's always credit cards providing promotional deals. I almost wish we did this maybe 2 weeks ago. I think one of the most popular cards is a Chase Sapphire Preferred card.
Yeah.
They were doing good sign-up bonus, and that's probably one of the best ones for transfer partners.
Okay.
So Chase maybe wouldn't accept you before, probably would now.
They've been sending me some stuff in the mail because I've got my debit on Chase. So it's like I see it and they're sending me notifications.
Yeah, so that's a really good one just for kind of easy transfer partners, especially for travel. Plus you get the sign-up bonus. Most of those will say, hey, we'll give you 80,000 points if you spend whatever, $3,000 or $5,000 in the first couple months.
That's easy. Chase Sapphire Preferred?
Yeah, that's a good starter card.
Okay.
You know, Capital One is usually one of the most receptive if you have not a long credit history. I think Discover is probably another one. But as you work your way up the list, Chase becomes more competitive. Maybe American Express, which is a charge card similar to a credit card.
I like the Amex.
Yeah, a lot of pros and cons.
Okay.
So every card that I get, especially the higher end ones, they have pretty high annual fees now.
Sure.
So you just want to make sure whatever rewards or benefits they provide are at least offsetting that.
So for a guy that's got about $200,000-$300,000 in his bank account, what is like the right amount that I should be spending on like an annual, credit card?
I mean, I think the Chase Sapphire Preferred might be, I don't know if it's still $95, but it's pretty low.
Cool.
But if you do the Chase Reserve or the MX Platinum, for example, those are $700. So those can be pricey.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. They offer Uber credits, all this other stuff.
It could be cool though when I throw my card on the table and it makes a noise.
You could look cool.
Yeah. People be like, whoa.
You can get the Apple credit card, which is you don't pay any annual fee.
Yeah, that one's decent. I think, especially if you buy a lot of Apple stuff.
And that's metal.
Yeah.
If you want,
if you want the metal card.
Yeah, that's important to me.
You can make a fake one and pretend.
Oh, that's true, actually. Yeah.
But in terms of actually useful cards, I think Chase would probably be a good next step for you.
I've kind of been wondering about how credit works when you get married. So, like, I have a few credit cards. Hannah's on the 2 credit cards of mine that we use for everything and the most. She has one of her own. Mm-hmm. If we want to get another one, like, is there a benefit in her getting more credit cards because she only has one that's truly in her name? Or does it not matter because we're married?
Doesn't really matter. Each person has their own credit history. Usually when you have a card, one person's going to be the main person and one's like an authorized user or a secondary.
Yeah, so she's an authorized user on our 2 like bigger cards that we use for everything. But like, say we want to buy a house, like her credit, do they combine our credit amount?
They average them out usually. So if she doesn't have a good credit history and you want her on the loan, it would be good to build her credit.
She has a good credit score, but she doesn't have a big credit limit.
Got it.
Does my credit limit on those cards count for her too, or her credit limit's just that one card she has? Plus her like.
So for buying a house, credit limit doesn't matter. It's just credit score.
But okay, but like, don't they look at that as I guess the credit score is already calculated?
Yeah, because for housing, qualifying for a mortgage, they look at your credit score, but more importantly, they look at your income. Mm-hmm. So they want to make sure you can pay the loan over time.
So it doesn't really matter if she gets another card. She can just keep that
she has
one
a good score. Yeah, if you needed to build up her score, maybe that would be good to have her as a primary person.
Got it.
But if she has a good credit score, you have a good credit score, they're just going to look at combined income.
Okay.
Yeah.
And who do you love most in your household?
Toby.
That's what she said you'd say. All right. So we've got Bilt, which I might be getting finessed by my roommate. We've got Apple credit card. We should eliminate Amex, right? I'm probably not ready for that.
Yeah, for now. I think so. Yeah.
We got Chase Sapphire as a big winner, and that's kind of coming in what I wanted to get. So, but then I saw you use your Chase Sapphire, and I was like, maybe I'm not ready for this.
There's different types. I have the Reserve, which has the higher annual fee, but has some good benefits.
Yeah.
The Preferred is a better start.
Preferred. Okay. Yeah. Chase Sapphire Preferred. Alex was talking to me about American Airlines, though. What kind of benefits are you getting over there?
I do that because, honestly, it was because my parents always had that card. So I was like, oh, that's one I should get.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like $100 a year.
Okay.
And when I fly American, I get extra points, obviously. And when I fly American, I get like a free bag. Often I like to, I plan to do this more, but I've done this a little bit in the past year, is fly places to play golf. And so if I fly American, I don't have to pay for my checked bag, and I get like priority boarding and all those kinds of things.
Yeah, those all can be really good. If you're flying American, right? The problem is if you go to destinations that American's not a good route, then it's nice to have an independent card. So I haven't gone that route yet for airlines. I consider it, especially at times I might do Delta a lot or United a lot, but it really depends on the destination. So kind of the easier route is just get one of these other ones where you can transfer.
Okay.
American Airlines as an airline is probably the hardest to transfer points to. You have to have an American card, or I think maybe a Citi card. None of the other big credit card companies transfer to them.
Okay.
So if American's big for you, maybe get an American card. But if you use most popular airlines, then the other cards usually transfer over to them.
Okay. Because I've usually been a Spirit guy most of my life, and now I've started to be able to afford American when I go visit my family.
Does Spirit do points?
I don't think so.
I don't either.
I don't think so. Yeah. But I'm trying to move past Spirit. I don't know if I could work my way to United or Delta, but I have a good time on American. Sometimes they have movies, sometimes they don't. But I think, most of the places I go have it. Usually just Detroit or Florida or New York.
Detroit's a big Delta place, isn't it?
Yeah. Detroit is like, basically it's split in half, where there's like the one side of the airport, which is like all of the airlines, it's like kind of shitty, except it has a Chick-fil-A. And then there's the Delta side that's like crazy nice.
Right. Yeah. So if you go
fountain and everything.
If you go to consistent places that are on the same airline, that'd be good. Like Florida, for example, I don't think Delta really goes there.
Yeah.
So you might need an American or JetBlue or something different. So just depends.
One interesting fact about the Detroit airport too, for all my rap fans out there, is the Spirit is actually D12.
Okay.
If you know the rap group. Which made me always feel better about flying Spirit, because a lot of times I'd be like, oh, I'm D12 at least.
You just can't bring a bag or backpack.
Can't bring a bag or a backpack, but
Yeah.
One time I wrote this rap lyric. It said, broke, but I'm fly. I'm the spirit in the sky. And I was at the airport at that.
Congratulations.
Matt, have you ever heard Chase's music?
I haven't.
He actually has a couple, I wouldn't say I like all the songs, but there's 2 songs that I think are like very good.
Oh well, there's nothing I can do about it. Oh well, girl, I can't erase mistakes. So well, there's nothing I can do about it. Oh well.
Wow, you should have a screening night, actually.
No, I don't like watching myself.
Have the kids, have Francine. You guys could do a whole movie night. Popcorn, get Tobes in the mix.
Sounds great.
What are they going to say when they see you admit that Toby's your favorite, though?
They're probably not surprised.
She literally said, I said, give me funny questions to ask. And then she said, who's his favorite? And then parentheses, he'll say Toby.
My firstborn son.
Yeah. Well, one day I'll have a son, maybe. Or a dog. All right. So I wrote down, don't move on until you choose a new credit card. So should we just eliminate Chayton's whole Alaska Airlines thing? Because I feel like that was just a ploy.
Alaska can be a great airline, but it depends where you want to go.
Once he started saying, like, you could list me as your referral code, I was like, this is a pyramid scheme for sure.
I think they do a cheap, you get like a second ticket that can fly with you, but that may not help you right now.
Well, you don't have any, like, you don't have a girlfriend or anything. So.
Yeah, one day.
One day.
What do you fly when you go home? Because that is...
I typically been flying American.
You haven't?
Because, like, so my family lives on southwest side of, like, the Gulf, where there's, like, a really small airport that flies American. So that's usually, I think they do maybe United or Delta, I don't know. JetBlue they do, but, like, Miami's always really cheap. It'll be like a $200 round trip. But my family doesn't want to drive the 4 hours there and back to pick me up as much as there's like an airport like 20 minutes away.
Right.
So typically I'm an American guy because I also fly to Detroit too. And then I think LaGuardia, my brother's in East Village. So
yeah. I mean, I would grab whatever best offer you can get from American. Grab the Chase Preferred would probably be my second choice.
Okay.
Just compare them and see which you'll get the most bang for your buck out of the next.
So what should I be looking for?
I think the sign-up bonus is important.
You might be able to get a lot of those flights that you have to do this year free by just signing up.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, we need to do this episode because I got 2 weddings and a bachelor party and potentially a trip to the Cayman Islands.
Yeah, sign-up bonus, the annual fee, and then just all the extra perks that they give. Like Alex said, if you like to check bags, is that covered or not? Do you get any status on the airline? That can be really helpful.
And like, how many miles? Like you said, they might grant me miles for some of them.
I mean, I'd have to look at the cards, but for Chase, I'd say at least 80,000 miles sign up.
Ooh, 80,000?
At least, yeah.
And how many miles is America?
But it doesn't work like that.
It's not like that. It's different.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah.
So wait, what does a mile mean? So if I want to go to New York, is it like the actual geographic miles?
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah. Every airline will have different mile requirements.
They're just points. They're
points. Yeah. It's kind of fake money. Every airline's different. It's like their own currency.
That makes way more sense because 80,000 miles seems pretty big, right?
Yeah. You can use those points well, but sometimes.
Can you turn the miles into points / cash?
Yeah.
Oh.
And it never makes sense how many miles it is. You like look it up, and one day I'll be like, "Oh, it's 40,000 miles," and then the same flight the next day is like 80,000 miles.
Supply and demand.
Really?
Yeah, they just change it all the time. And then there's certain periods of time. If you can book 12 months out, there's good deals. If you can book 30 days or less out, there's usually good deals because they're trying to fill the seats. But it
sounds corrupt as fuck to me, honestly.
Yeah, it's not corrupt. It's just, how many seats are available and how aggressive or conservative they can be. But it can be annoying. And that's why I tell people, if you don't want to play that game, that's where you just do the cash back or you do something different.
Well, what's up with the whole lounge thing, too? Because I've heard people talk about that.
Yeah, that too. Chase Preferred, I think, gets you into the priority pass.
No way!
I think.
I've always wanted to be Chase Preferred, but...
You got
my girlfriends
upgraded.
Chase prefer somebody else. So.
I'm not sure if the American card gets you into the American.
I haven't tried or looked into it. I don't fly around like that often. So
yeah, I mean that's a bonus too. If you travel a lot and you get stuck in the airport, having somewhere to relax.
Because I do like to get there early. I mean, that's kind of the thing. Yeah. I used to be like, all these idiots get here so early, but then I get too stressed out on the way.
Yeah.
You're in that LAX line of cars all the way to the In-N-Out, and you're just like...
So, another stuff. Do you have your TSA PreCheck?
No.
So, some of these credit cards will cover that fee, which that is a no-brainer.
PreCheck!
That is a no-brainer to have.
Wow,
saves you a lot of time and stress.
Write that one down.
So, some other...
And what's the equivalent of PreCheck that they say you should get to?
Clear.
Which one's better?
I think PreCheck. It's good to have both, but I think PreCheck is usually a little quicker.
How much does a PreCheck cost if you're just
I think it's $95
per trip or per year?
No, for like 5 years.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
really?
You can add global entry. Maybe it's a little more, which is for international travel.
Why does nobody? It seems like empty. Like no one ever.
No, I think everybody does it now.
But like when I go,
it's more people do that. Sometimes I feel like I'm going faster.
Sometimes it does.
Online.
So sometimes when that's busy, that's when having Clear is nice.
Oh, interesting.
There's even a TSA.
You got both?
I have both.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a new TSA/Clear double thing. They're just trying to find ways to.
Whenever I'm there, it seems that the TSA PreCheck line is empty, but maybe I'm not looking.
Yeah, it's definitely helpful. I mean, global entry is the best. That's
He's
when you come back
out of Burbank.
Yeah. That's true. That's much easier than LAX.
Burbank.
But global entry, you come back in, you walk up to a machine, scans your face, and you're through. That's custom.
I've done that. Yeah, that's great.
You have to have it. So that's
Alex, you should talk about your recent trip too, by the way.
I went to Patagonia. Yeah, it was
very
awesome.
cool.
It's about all. Well, I was pretty hyped on it when I got back. It's been like 3 weeks, so I've kind of calmed down.
Though.
But
yeah,
it was incredible.
Will you drop a link to your video so the viewers can see it?
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah,
made a really good video of his hiking. I mean, tell them what'd you do in Patagonia. You hiked for weeks.
We hiked for 4 days, 53 miles.
Holy cow!
With like packs and everything.
Wow.
Through like the most remote part of the world I'll probably ever be in. It was so cool.
This guy's calves are shredded.
Yeah, that's impressive.
All right. So let's move. I want to move on to hear about your video game career a little bit, but I'm curious. So what's the most I should spend on a sign up bonus, would you say?
Well, you're not paying anything. They're paying you. So the minimum you should get, I think 80,000 would be that. They give you points to sign up.
Oh, shit. Okay.
It's kind of motivation.
And often you don't pay the first year.
Yeah, usually they'll waive that too. So
what do you mean?
You do
That's annual fee gets waived?
Yeah. You do your homework.
Okay.
Before you hit apply, come talk to us.
So if I send you an email, you'll respond?
I'll always respond to you.
Let's go. Okay.
Yeah.
So sign up bonus, I'll just write "will see," and then annual fee should get waived.
Usually the first year.
Amex will do that or no?
I'm not sure. Depends on the promo.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the most embarrassing thing is whenever I go to Costco, my card doesn't work. I don't get why.
I'm not sure.
Your what card? Your credit card? Costco only accepts
right?
They accept credit, but like they don't accept American Express or like Discover. They only accept like MasterCard.
I think they only accept
or Visa
because I just flashed back to my girlfriend paying with
it's Amex. They either only accept MasterCard or only Visa. It's one of the two.
I'm not sure.
All right, let's try and wrap it up here, Chase.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good. Okay. Well, now is the fun part. Let's talk about video games. Charitable giving we already covered too. See, I was like, why can't we figure out how to talk to animals? We covered that. You really doubled down with me too, which I appreciated. All right. People don't necessarily know this because he's such a successful financial advisor, but this guy actually used to be a professional video game player.
I was. Kind of came out of nowhere, just playing video games with your friends and gradually get a little bit better, a little more competitive, and kind of work your way up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you just good at everything you do, or?
That's the goal. I kind of narrow my focus to the things that I, naturally good at. Kind of do that all or nothing.
Yeah.
So that's just what happened.
How do you go from like playing with Dan and your, playing with how? All right, I'm just. How do you go from playing with Dan in your dorm room to then being on the professional level?
I think like in anything, there's kind of the social experience, but then you focus towards the people that are better and more competitive and you work your way up. And then there's local tournaments that kind of more for fun and you win those. Yeah. And then there's regional, then there's the country, and then there's the worlds. So you just keep moving.
You made it to the worlds?
Of course.
Whoa.
Yeah. Part of my travel fun too. Played in Germany, Paris, Brazil.
Really?
Yeah.
What games?
Counter-Strike, all one game.
Nice.
So, yeah, it's very lucky. Not often you get to play video games while you're a kid and get paid and get to travel.
Well, yeah, how old were you at the time?
It was mostly college and a little bit after college.
Like I said, LMU legend right here.
I know they have an esports team now. I kind of missed out on that.
Well, they have, when I was there, part of like the gym / I guess it's called the recreational center. They like introduced like a whole game room that had like a ton of computers and Xboxes and
didn't have that when I was there.
It should be called the Matt Iantosca Center for Gaming.
I'll have to sponsor it.
Yeah, you should. But now, so you said some of the gamers that you've worked with were actually some of your earliest clients, right?
Yeah, a lot of gamers and a lot of people in the industry, which I love because it allows me to stay in touch without actually playing anymore.
Yeah.
So some of my favorite clients work for, Activision, which is now Microsoft, or NVIDIA, or all the big tech gaming companies.
We talk about NVIDIA all the time on here.
We do. Great company.
They make video games?
They don't make video games, but they make the video cards that allow you to play video games.
Oh, wait, what are those called? Chips.
Yeah, graphics cards, and some other important things with AI these days. So it's great people to work with. I kind of see what's happening behind the scenes. And help them.
So in a lot of ways, video game players are almost like athletes, right? Is like managing money / like managing the career similar to like how an athlete manage, where they're all like almost their own business.
100%. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, same thing. They play for teams, but they are their own brand.
Yeah.
Especially these days with the availability of streaming and kind of building your own channels. That's where they can make a lot more money.
Yeah, because streaming's huge now.
Huge.
Do any of your clients like have Twitch or?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, cool.
All those, and then video games are a little bit different because in sports, right? I think their careers are pretty finite, right? You can only play for so long. Video games, you definitely age out, and the young kids might be better or newer, but it's not like you have to stop playing because you physically can't.
Exactly.
But most people will transition into working something in the field for maybe one of the companies that they were sponsored by or one of the organizations.
So that's Microsoft.
Yeah.
I'm a big COD player too. Do you have clients that do like Call of Duty stuff at Microsoft?
I do. Yeah, lots of them.
Really?
Oh yeah, lots of the guys that make the game, the directors, the producers, all the way down to the people that create the characters.
No way.
So, yeah,
because that's something as a screenwriter, I always loved. Like video game writing was like kind of a big thing. And
yep, no, it's incredible. And they, every year there's different studios, even for Call of Duty, for example, that will be real big on a game, and then the next year it's a different studio that works for that company.
Because that's like Modern Warfare versus Black Ops. There's like Activision versus there's
the other Treyarch, Infinity Ward.
Yeah.
Yep. So work with a lot of those people, and obviously a big part of what they do is those game releases. If the game is successful, they get really nice bonuses, which can be life changing.
Yeah.
In addition to that, they get granted stock in the company, so they have incentive for the games to do well.
Okay.
So work very closely with them on that front to try to help maximize, all the hard work they put in.
Interesting.
To make smart decisions.
So that's okay. So wait, what is that called? ISO, right?
There's many different types. So most of these big companies, they just get restricted stock, which is kind of the simplest form of stock compensation.
Sure.
It's really like you're receiving a paycheck. They withhold taxes, but instead of netting cash in your bank, you net shares of the company.
Oh.
Right. So these days, Activision is now owned by Microsoft. So maybe they get $100,000 in restricted stock. Taxes are there, but then they end up with maybe $60,000 of Microsoft stock. And then at that point, they can decide to keep it and hope that the stock does well, or you sell it and you can do whatever you want with it. So
that sounds kind of complex.
It's not too bad. Yeah, you got to wrap your head around it. There's some tax implications. There's other stuff like stock options and incentive stock options, like you talked about that. That is definitely more complicated. I feel like more mature companies do that. That's kind of more in the startup world because there's a lot more future upside.
So how do you decide if they should take the company stock, and there's different types of it, if they should just take cash? Like, is that get really complex? Do you have a system for that? Is that
that's the fun part of the job.
Okay.
Right. It obviously depends on their specific situation. My kind of general rule of thumb is you probably shouldn't have more than 10% of your net worth in one individual company, right? Just from a risk management standpoint.
Makes sense.
Especially if you work there.
Yeah.
Right. There's kind of extra things.
Might be a little bias. And,
yeah. If you're very excited about the company and very positive, maybe you keep a little bit more. But for most people, that could be a little bit too risky.
That makes sense.
So that's part of it. And then when you're looking at different types of options, that's kind of longer term thinking. You're really betting on that over a long period of time. They cost you nothing just to hold an option. But if you actually want to exercise it or own the stock, then it costs money and there's taxes. Okay. So that's something where we work closely with an accountant or a tax team, for example, to figure out what to do. But that's the fun part of our job. Yeah. Right. I mean, this stuff, again, the bonuses, the stock compensation, that is truly life-changing money. Yeah. Even if they have a great salary, that's nice. That pays the bills. That allows you to live. But it doesn't necessarily give you those big jumps in net worth from $50 to $25,000.
I got a bonus for $1,000. I called up my financial advisor. I said, buy the dip ASAP. So I mean,
so that's the fun stuff, and that's why I love this industry, just because I kind of grew up in it and surrounded by it. Yeah, so it's great to see people do well.
And how do you? Or I guess I'm just gonna jump to the real question that I'm sure Alex is also wondering: is you have clients at Call of Duty, Do you get leaks? Can you get us a leak of the game? Is there a way we can play some of it?
I can get free games.
Really?
Yeah, if you'd like a new version. Unfortunately,
I was joking. You really can?
Of course.
Wow.
Yeah, I have some awesome clients there, and they would be happy to.
And what if I want a new NVIDIA chip? Could I get one of those? Or
I haven't tried that yet. Maybe.
Video game day. That could be sweet.
Yep. Yeah, we got the sweet TV out front. Maybe we can hook something
We
up.
got to figure out how to hook up to that. We probably can.
Yeah, without lagginess. We got to figure it out.
Yeah,
that'd be the best day ever, I think.
Yeah. Yep. So that's why it's fun, right? You kind of choose the clients that you work with, and they choose you, and it's just kind of a natural fit.
That's awesome.
All right, Chase. I think try to wrap it up so that this doesn't take
Good point.
too many hours to edit.
I've got a couple burning questions, though.
All right.
I've got a couple burning questions based on current events. Can I grill them a little bit, or?
Yeah, do what you normally do. You kind of do a couple fire questions.
All right. What would happen if the market just never stopped or started each day? So you know how it's has a time where it opens and closes, I guess is the word. What would happen if the market never opened or closed every day?
Ever again?
Ever again. It's just running on a loop.
That's a good question.
So it stayed open. It didn't. So it's not like it's closed. It
doesn't open. Okay, what would happen if the market doesn't open, doesn't close? It just exists.
So it's just open all the time.
Timelessly forever.
Like crypto.
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
Right?
Is that how crypto works?
I think that's what he's asking.
Blockchain?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that would make our job a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
It'd be hard to sleep at night. You'd have to have a rotation of people always awake. They're pushing for that.
Really?
They want, 24-hour trading, weekend trading. I think that would be terrible.
Oof.
I don't know what that would do to the movements, but it would just not be good for people's sanity.
Can you explain after hours trading?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so normal market hours, we're in California, are 6:30 a.m. to 1 p.m., and then the market closes. After hours, there is an additional market that trades. It's a secondary market, and it's just not a lot of people. So there's not a lot of volume. So a lot of the movements can be exaggerated because there's not a lot of people trading in that market.
Do you have to be some sort of accredited
a lot of institutions. Although, I think the Schwabs and those sort of Robinhood, maybe they're starting to try to do it too.
I see.
It's almost like, it's more money for them, right? The more people trade, they make money, so that they have every incentive to do that.
Got it.
I don't think it's smart to trade after hours. Just like trading in the beginning of the market day and the end of the market day can kind of be silly just because there's not a lot of trading and you can get taken advantage of.
Ross was saying that to me a couple of weeks ago, where he said he used to wake up, watch the market exactly open, how it reacts, and now he's I don't even check the first hour of the day because it just stresses me out. And it's
and I have people that will text me at nighttime, the futures market opened, which is trying to predict what's going to happen tomorrow. And they get either excited or panicked about it. And I was like, stop texting me, because we wake up the next day and it's completely different. It's why even look?
Yeah.
So, in our world, I think the less you look, especially as a client, not in the business, you're going to be better off.
And what are money markets?
Like a money market fund?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I just wrote it down.
Yeah. Money market funds, it's really, so there's, I guess, different types, but the most common one that we would buy is it's a mutual fund, but instead of investing in stocks or even long-term bonds, they're buying incredibly short-term bonds. So usually it's government bonds that mature in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days.
Oh.
But to kind of keep things safe and, provide confidence to the investors, most of them are fixed at a $1 value, like a savings account, and then they just pay interest. So there shouldn't have any volatility. You just kind of earn these short-term bonds, kind of prepackaged for you to make it easy, and you just earn interest.
And is that something when would you want to use that?
Short-term money.
Short-term money.
You have your money in the bank, right? That's kind of your day-to-day checking, pay bills.
So you could throw $100K in there and you might get $101,000 back in 30 days.
Right? Not even that. No, that's too high. So today they pay about 4% per year. So if you have $100,000, you earn $4,000 throughout the year. So about $333 a month, roughly. But it's better than a bank account.
Better than inflation. You're just trying to beat inflation, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's safe money. Park it somewhere safe. You want to know what you're going to get. That's it.
Would you typically do that? Say you were going to buy a house and you're getting the money ready for the down payment, and you like have it all now in cash. You just put it in something like that if you know you're not going to buy for the next 30 days.
Yeah. If it's a very short-term thing, but you want to earn interest, that's a great place to put it.
Or I guess, would you even do that for the next year? Because you never know what happens in a year. So you're like, okay, let's make sure that it's at a number we like now. Let's put in all the money somewhere.
Yeah, it's up to you. That's a very safe place to park it if you want that certainty. If you're more comfortable with investing, maybe you just do a very conservative portfolio of like 50% stocks, 50% bonds, or whatever it is. It's based on your risk tolerance. But if you just know you have what you have, you don't want to lose it, that's a perfect place to put it. Much better than the bank.
And what are share buybacks?
Okay.
He just likes like the keywords.
Yeah.
Well, I hear things and then I write them down.
Yeah. So share buybacks, Apple is a perfect example of this. So basically, there's an outstanding amount of shares that every company has.
Outstanding meaning?
Meaning people own them.
Okay.
The company issued these shares and individuals or corporations now own them.
Okay.
Let's just say for round numbers, let's say there's 1 million outstanding shares.
And how are outstanding different than regular shares?
Same thing. It
Okay.
just means that they're owned by somebody besides the company.
Okay.
Okay. And basically, there's a lot of ways a company can use their profits to, for the better, right? They can, reinvest it, right? Apple wants to innovate new technology. They have to spend money. They can pay dividends, right? A company's earning these profits. They want to pay it to the people that own stock.
Okay.
Or they can do buybacks, which is basically they buy back some of the shares that are outstanding. So now that 1 million shares, maybe they buy back 10% of their shares, which would be a lot.
Yeah.
Now there's only 900,000 outstanding shares. So there's less shares out there. So everyone just increased their ownership in the business, even if they didn't buy more, just because they own it, right? So that's what a lot of companies have been doing recently. A smart way to do it, and this is how Berkshire Hathaway and Warren Buffett have done it, is they've kind of set a value where they think maybe the stock is trading cheaper than it's actually worth.
Yeah.
Then they'll buy it back because they feel like that's a good use of their money.
Okay. So they won't always pay the current market value for it.
They'll pay the current market value, but maybe they feel like the stock market is valuing their company less than it's actually worth.
So
they feel like it's on sale. It's a good deal.
So okay. I see what you're saying.
Right. So when the market pulls back, let's say the market pulls back, but the company's doing really, really well.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, this is a good use of our cash. So we own more of our own company.
Yeah. Okay.
And then it just automatically increases everybody's.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a lot of companies do that right. A lot of companies just do it to do it, and it's not a good use of their capital. But Warren Buffett has been kind of a big person on that front.
Okay. All right. Well, he's not dead, not RIP, but happy retirement.
Retiring, yeah.
Happy retirement.
Yeah.
And I heard this rumor that Moody's did a U.S. downgrade, and I didn't know what that meant, but it seemed like they said the credit was worse than it is.
Yeah.
I read about that.
Yep.
So what does that mean?
Yeah. So it's the U.S. government.
I love the way he interviews about finances.
You want me to get serious?
No,
I'm getting serious.
It's very entertaining. Like
I'll put the T-shirt back on.
I'm
I
being
will.
genuine. I really do enjoy it. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's great.
And you wanted to end the episode
because that's how people feel. Like I feel that way. Like
I feel that way too.
People talk about Moody's and all this stuff, and you're like, "What the hell's that?"
Yep.
So I love that. That's how you ask the question.
I know.
Sorry to laugh, but that's all.
No, it's cool. You forgot that I was going to have a big fourth quarter. You know what I mean? You wanted to end it in the third.
Yeah, come in pretty strong.
We still got 6 or 7 minutes left here.
I'm excited for the answer.
All right. So I read this thing about Moody's U.S. downgrade. I don't know exactly what that means, but it seemed important. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. So every country or company that issues debt, right? They take on money, they need loans. They have a credit rating tied to them. Not that different than an individual.
No way. They got points or what?
They don't get points.
They got a score.
Yeah, they get a score.
Okay.
And just like us.
And is it up to 850?
It's different.
Okay.
Yeah, these are actually a mix of alphabet and letters. So it gets very confusing because every agency is different. They could be AAA, they could be
I've heard of that.
AA+.
AAA rating.
Yeah, very different.
Okay. It's like horses or whatever.
That's right.
Yeah.
So basically, like us as humans, when we apply for a loan, or if a company, for example, is going to issue debt, there's a rating tied to them, and that determines what sort of interest rate they have to pay to entice people to loan them money.
Okay.
The U.S. government forever has probably been the safest place, that can issue money. A lot of people buy them.
Save is for us to buy.
Yeah, for individuals.
I was gonna say, aren't we in incredible debt?
We're in a lot of debt, but we also print money.
Yeah, boy.
Right? So we are the largest and most liquid market.
Sweet.
Which is always positive. So basically now, because we have so much debt, these agencies are a little bit nervous that we may not be able to pay it back. It's definitely something
downgraded.
We got downgraded.
And who the hell is Moody though?
They're just a credit rating agency.
Okay.
Yeah. So they were actually the last one to downgrade us. The other two have downgraded us over the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean much, but it's more just, hey, pay attention to this.
Should we be worried?
Not really right now.
If we get downgraded again, that could be bad?
That would be bad.
Okay.
There's only 2 countries that I believe have a higher credit rating than us. It's Germany and I forget the other one.
Could be Japan?
I don't think it's Japan because they have a ton of debt too.
China?
I think it might be Canada. Yeah. But basically it has no issues today. But as we all know, we have a ton of debt.
Okay.
Our interest costs are now our largest cost. It's more than what we spend on defense, which is not good.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I thought we spend over 50% on defense though.
No,
okay.
No, yeah, not interest costs. So it's not good long term. And the sad thing is our political environment favors people just, issuing more debt because they want to stay in power, keep the economy strong. But that's not great for us as young individuals who want our country to be self-sufficient.
Yeah.
So it will become an issue if something doesn't happen soon. But today, I don't think it changes anything.
Okay. As long as we're top 3, I think I'm fine. That made me feel a lot better.
People are concerned because with that downgrade, they're saying, what if we're not the reserve currency? Which just basically means the currency that everyone uses to trade around the world. But there's no other alternative.
Okay.
Right. So even if the rest of the world struggles, we're struggling, we're still the safest place to be as of today.
Okay. And we've got a good defense budget too. So we're also safe in that way.
Yes.
I know you got to get out of here. I'm curious though, what are capital gains taxes?
Okay. So there's many different types of taxes. The one most of us know is just income taxes.
Yep.
Right. When you get your paycheck.
Don't remind me.
They withhold federal, state income taxes plus some others. On the investment side, when you make an investment to try to earn money over time with stocks, for example, instead of having income taxes, they call it capital gains taxes. Okay. So if you buy $1,000 of Apple stock, you sell it later for $1,500, you made $500. There's a capital gains tax.
Okay.
There's 2 different types. There's short-term.
Short-term.
And long-term.
Long-term.
Short-term is if you've held it for less than 12 months.
Okay.
So if
you've
held
less or more?
Less, it's higher taxes.
Higher. Okay.
Right? And the reason of that is they're trying to incentivize you to be a long-term investor.
And what would capital gains tax be on that $500?
Yeah. So for short-term, it's whatever your ordinary income tax rate is. So if you pay 20% federal taxes, 5% state, you'd pay 25% taxes on the $500. But if it's on the long-term gains, so now you held it for more than 12 months, then it's called long-term capital gains tax. And there's different brackets, but most people fall in the 15% federal bracket. And then the state is whatever your state is. So that would still be the same 5.
And this is why we don't day trade at this company. We're long-term investors.
Yes.
And I didn't even know I knew about some things about capital gains, but that seems like it's even more of a reason to be long-term investors.
Yep. And the higher your income is, the higher your tax bracket is, the more beneficial capital gains taxes can be, right? Because it's lower than your income tax bracket.
Sure.
And this is another Warren Buffett quote. He always said he thinks they're somewhat unfair because his secretary might pay more taxes than he pays because he only pays capital gains. She pays income taxes.
Oh, shit.
So that's why it pays to be an investor.
Yeah.
Right? Long-term wealth building, investing is the best way to do it.
And if you have a Roth IRA, you pay taxes now when you're in a lower tax bracket, and traditional, you would have to pay later.
Correct.
So.
Yep. So for a young person saving in a Roth, you get paid your, salary every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You save some of that into the Roth. That money grows tax-free forever.
Wait, so the capital gains tax. So you take out $500,000 a year when you're 65, and that's what you want to start paying yourself per year. You're just paying the capital gains on that, or don't you still have to pay the income?
If it's coming from a retirement account, it would be income. If you're taking it from like a brokerage account and you've held all those investments for over a year, it would be taxed at capital gains tax rate. And a lot of times, if you take $500,000, it may not all be a gain, right? Maybe you're taking some principal, some gain.
Right.
But that's the thought process. If you're in a high income tax bracket while you're working, you try to defer that as long as you can. Then you take it out in retirement, and ideally, you're in a lower tax bracket. And then if you have different types of accounts, like a 401k, Roth, brokerage account. You kind of take a little bit from each to try to manage those tax brackets every single year. And that's what we do. We run a lot of projections. It is complicated, but it makes a huge difference if you have somebody do it right.
And they announced today that they're actually ditching the penny in America.
Did they?
You guys hear about that? No more pennies, apparently. So
I think they cost more to make than they're worth.
That's what they're saying, yeah.
Pennies are useless. At this point, like, if someone hands me a penny, I just, like, lose it. Yeah.
I actually threw some change in the trash not long ago. All right, well, I know we got to get you out of here. I just wanted to say one thing to the swimmers out there. The deadlines for those of you living in Los Angeles are pushed back, even for the Roth and traditional. Because of the LA fires, you have until, I think it's October, maybe November, to contribute to last year's Roth IRA. You know what that means for me? I could max out last year and this year. Who knows? But God's looking out. So don't forget that. Call up Mia Sampson. Call up Matt, and he's not going to work with you. But you know what? We'll find you someone who will. And isn't that an amazing thing? Is that a good outro? Or
yeah, you got to say thanks, Matt.
No, yeah, I thought it was pretty good, though, right?
Yeah,
Matt won't work with you?
I thought that might have, yeah, might have to redo it again.
Depends on who you think your listeners are.
Yeah.
That's true. Well, we've learned a lot today. We've learned about credit cards, credit card points, building credits. We've learned about the Cayman Islands. We've learned about Africa, world traveling, growing up in a multi-language household. We've learned what it's like to have your partner also be a partner at the same company as you. Maybe that's the dream. I think so. It's been amazing to have Mr. Matt Iantosca here with us today. I'm telling you guys, those likes and comments, those shares that you're doing for this podcast are doing a lot for us. This is the top earner in the company, year after year after year, on our podcast, talking to my financial fishies out there. And guess what, you little swimmers? We did it, but it's not over yet. There's much, much, much more to learn. And we're excited for the future of us, the future of me, and the future of you. So let me just extend a warm thank you to Mr. Matt Iantosca for being here today. And who knows, maybe he'll come back again one day. We'll see.
I appreciate it, man.
Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Talk some shit to Alex if you want. I don't care. Just engage because, well, we love this show and we look forward to a lot more fun episodes. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Matt, for being here. Get home safe, everybody.
Nothing but trouble on my mind. That's the attitude that got my ass off the sidelines. You either ride...
Please remember that nothing we say here should be taken as personal advice. This conversation is for entertainment purposes only. If you have questions about your financial situation, please talk to a licensed financial advisor.